Do you wish you could create your own unique original paintings, but every time you've tried, you've just got too overwhelmed by the details, too overwhelmed by the process? You wish you had an ounce of direction and the courage to step out and be authentic, even step out and share your faith. Maybe because you're also in survival mode. You're also dealing with anxiety, heavy with depression or addiction, struggling to find the energy or the motivation or the time to just simply pick up your paintbrush. If this is you, I have just so much encouragement and hope in your circumstances right now. This is part 3 of my style workshop number 1. If you missed the first video, I'll link that down below. A continuation of that video where I share my updated 5-phase creativity system. This is a process that I created 2 years ago that I still use today. One that I developed when our household was going through incredible health problems, regular emergency room visits for my children and my husband. But it was actually the struggle that propelled me in my skills and in my artist style. And that's what I'm hoping to do for you today in this video. So no matter what your skill level is, no matter what medium you're using, and even with just a small little tiny ounce of energy, you can actually harness the trial you're facing right now. No matter how ugly it looks, it can be transformed into your most beautiful work of art and transform you in the process. Let's get started. In those moments, which can be rare when you're not rushing, maybe you're walking the dogs and you take notice to a beautiful bush of red roses. Maybe another time you're taking the back roads for once, taking this casual drive, and you see a field of sunny sunflowers. Or maybe you're out on your porch doing your routine coffee break and you just noticed the 4th hummingbird in just a short amount of time. These precious little moments, or even sometimes these encounters in nature, really leave an impression on us. They can move us to curiosity or joy, excitement, even sadness or hope. And because we're all so unique, we all experience this life in such a different, unique way. Certain animals, certain colors, certain images will bring up things from our past or present. It'll remind us of our grandmother that passed away. It might remind us of our faith. It might surface a painful or positive thought. It might bring up a lesson that we're currently learning in life. But all of it can be connected to who we are as a person, what we hold dear and value so deeply. That's why art is such an emotional process, and you want it that way. And that's why trials is such a blessing. It'll naturally surface and heighten those feelings and emotions. It'll naturally surface your raw humanness. Those imperfections will come out, showing the real you, the you that gives a crap what people think, the you that just wants to show up and enjoy the process, to fall back in love with art again. And just sharing my personal experience of being in that state, that humbled, heart open, desperate state, I have seen God do incredible things in my art, things that I couldn't predict, things where His strength flows out of me, His ideas, where despite being anxious or exhausted, I'm able to paint quickly and accurately, and things just start working out. Not because I'm some tenacious, skilled, professional artist. It's because God is in it. God is working through my weakness. So creatives, can I invite you to work in that space today with hands open to receive from Him? So before I share phase 1 of my updated 5-phase creativity system, a simple, not eloquent, fancy prayer could be, God, I invite you into this process. Guide my hands and my thoughts. Amen. So for phase 1, these are the eggs of inspiration. A small idea or concept that connects to you, your story, and or your faith. Notice I said it's an egg and not an elephant. It's a tiny idea that can start with simply a rose bush or a field of sunflowers or 4 hummingbirds. Now, while I'm in this idea development phase, I'm creating space in the calm, not rushing, I'm using observation to observe what's going on around me and inside of me, self-reflection, really taking notice to how I'm thinking, my thought patterns, research, in case I want to go research more about that flower or that animal or specific thing that is sparking these ideas, and exploration. I'll get to that in a second. To help incubate that egg and hatch it, I actually ask myself 5 questions before I pull up my sketchbook, before I start exploring. Question number 1, what animals, people, places, things, or events keep coming up in your life? Question number 2, how exactly have these things made an impression on you? In what ways? Question number 3, what lesson am I learning in life right now, or do I need to learn, that can help somebody else? Question number 4, who exactly are you becoming? And question number 5, how exactly do you want to impact your viewers with this idea, concept, or message? I'm going to highly recommend you put the answer to those questions in a journal, in a notebook, on maybe notes on your phone. And then once you've done that, we can move into phase 2. This is the caterpillar phase. So this is where you want to feed that idea, nurture it even more in your sketchbook. So I like to use Strathmore Mixed Media Sketchbook. I love it because if I want to use Copic markers and not just a pencil and pen, I can, or even paint, or even pastels and crayons. Side note, this is actually a great time to bond with your kids. I love pulling out all these different mediums, laying on my stomach on the floor with my Anna Grace and my Zach, and we'll just color, draw anything that comes up, going along with these questions that I just gave you, or bringing in more inspiration, more ideas. You are just playing with art. You're just like a child, having fun, seeing what comes up. And just like I would never judge my Zach for using scribbles to express himself, or Anna Grace for going through a whole roll of tape on her paper, the stakes are low. Don't judge yourself just like you wouldn't judge a child. Let yourself express you in whatever state you're in. And again, in this phase, when you're in your sketchbook, still be observant about the internal and external world you're in. Come back to your body. Be present in your body. What sensations or pains, any discomforts that you're experiencing? Be honest with yourself, friend. Be humble enough to say, I am bitter, or I'm battling shame, or I am secretly hiding an addiction, or I'm feeling great joy, or more optimistic than ever. Healing happens when we're honest. Healing happens when we're slowing down. And so how would you describe that physical and emotional sensations going on? Just like I used a bee to explain my worry, it almost feels like a bee sting in my stomach. Maybe you feel that shame in your head. Maybe you feel that loneliness in your heart. Maybe you feel it in your hands or your feet or your neck. So once you've observed the internal without judgment, observe the external. As you're in the process of developing this idea, what's going on in your household? What's going on in your closest relationships and influences? What's going on in your neighborhood? So what you're putting in your sketchbook are the things that you've been observing, reflecting on, and even researching that are moving you, that have really pulled on your heartstrings. From that, what animals come to mind? What colors? What designs? What Bible verses? What quotes? Now, when you're building an original work of art, you're building a story. So as you're doing this, consider what characters are in this story. What things are in the setting of this story? Any props? Is there an action going on? What is the overarching theme in this story? What is that mood? In the early phases of this hawk painting, there was this edgy mood and this theme of power and strength through the refining fire. So the setting of this piece was in fire. The main subjects were the 3 hawks and the bee, and eventually that tiger came up. Now for that painting, I had several spreads. Midway through the painting process, I had to go back to my sketchbook. That can happen. But for this ocean line painting that I'm working on right now, one spread did it for me. I felt like I had a lot of the elements, more than usual, and I felt confident to dive straight in on that large canvas. So this will vary on your personality, this will vary on the amount of time you have, this will vary on the complexity or simplicity of this idea. And to prevent losing that idea, whether you have big inspiration or very little, you don't need to rush this process, but don't stay here for long. This is that rough draft. It's almost like creating that outline for that big story that you're writing. You don't need all the puzzle pieces to get started. You just need a handful. So following exploration, now it's implementation. We are applying it to our canvas or paper using whatever medium we use. And now we're on to phase 3, the chrysalis phase. We started with a small tiny egg, and now here we are as a chrysalis. So this is where we're actually gonna build that story, building that original. So if you'd like to get the last 3 phases of this creativity system, this transformational process, I invite you to join my Patreon in the Style Developer and Collectors tier. This is where I share workshops and items that you can add to your style toolkit. So you can not only build these authentic, unique originals, even share your faith through your art, but also so you can develop your own unique artist style. All right, creatives, I hope this has truly blessed you. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. And if you have any questions, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.